welcome to my channel. Today's video format is going to be a little different than my usual videos. Usually I show you a card and then I show you the materials and step through the steps. In this case, I wanted to show you the paper. This is the star of the video. I got these two papers at Urban Scrapbookers in Edmonds, Washington. It was on the clearance rack, but it was flying out the door. Everyone was really excited about these two papers. And I saw it and I thought that is perfect for mass producing a card. So I'm going to make Mother's Day cards with this paper here, and I'm going to do more cards with this one but at a later date. Each piece of paper is going to make 24 cards. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And there's wonderful colors here, and I can't wait to show you. So let me move this out of the way and step through. This video will be a little longer because I'm going to be making so many cards, but stick with me, it'll be so worth it. Now, cutting straight is not my strong point, so I had to get my husband to help me do this. When I say help, I mean do the cutting for me. So I had two sheets and I cut each, and he cut all of the papers along the different motifs, and I sorted them according to the pattern. So I wanted to show you how to do this. So you cut into strips and then cut the strips and you will get 24 pieces. Okay, I'm going to go through this step by step so that no one gets confused, and I'm sorry if it's going slowly, but I wanted to be sure that I was very clear about how this is done. Okay, now this is an example of one of the cutouts, and what I did was go through and using plain copy paper, and I made a prototype up of how I wanted the card to look. And this is just plain paper, and I didn't want to waste a lot of materials, so I just took some paint, dye, and just went along the edges to make it a little bit colored so I could see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is the layout I'm going to do. Move that over, and this is the final card, and let me move this closer so that you can see how it ended up looking. I added a little bit of flourish here. This is just a general guideline for me, and this is the finished product with a little bit more embellishments, but you can still see that it's very similar. So I'm going to go through for each of the card layouts, and I'm going to show you the layout, show you the materials that I'm going to be using, and then we'll just start in with showing you how to create the card. The steps are going to be very similar to each card, so I'm going to take a little time and show you the steps slowly in the first card, and then I'll mostly speed up the rest and stop when it's appropriate to show you something special for that card. Okay, this will be fun. Let's get started. All right, I'm going to use several stamp sets. I have this large Sentiments stamp set by Fiskars, Stampin Up Bloom with Hope, Spellbinders A2 Matting Basics A, Stampin Up Something to Celebrate, and I'm also going to be using the Stampin Up A Mother's Love stamp set. I have two stamps from that set. The Stampin' Up Bird Builder Punch, and some pearls and rhinestones. And if I think of something else that is going to be unique to a specific card, I'll bring that in and show you as I go. Oh, I also need some finger daubers. For this design, I need to use the outer mat to get the mat for the inner panel and also these leaves. And this is going to be consistent for most of the cards. I'll have to do this. So I probably won't show it every time. So in order to do that, I'm taking this rectangle and I'm going to cut out a rectangle here. Now when you're using the mat for extra cutting out, you have to be sure that you stay within the area which will be covered by the outer panel. And okay, I think that's good. Bring in my top panel, And I'm going to cut this 2 times. Let me actually move this over just a little bit, because I need to get 2 of these for this card, and you'll see why in a second. Okay, don't throw this away, it's needed. So let me move this out of the way. Now I'm going to quickly stamp a small greeting right here because there's space. I won't be able to do this for all of them because of the design. So this is something that may change for each one. And this says, "It's your day." Okay. Now, let this dry a bit. I'm going to take this down to that square, rectangle. Come here. Now this rectangle is just a little bit larger than this panel. So I'm going to have to trim it, after I get it straight, of course, with my paper trimmer. Okay, I'll trim that in a second. And for this square rectangle, I need to get two of the branches out. So I'll just lean in to make sure I can see what I'm doing. And there's one. And here's the second one this way. Okay. While I have that punch out, I'm going to punch the bird and his wing. There we go. Okay, let me do some quick cleanup right here. Now I'm going to take my finger dauber and I'm going to put a little bit of color on the bird to make it a little bit more interesting. So this is broken china. So I'm just going to go all the way around. Give him a little bit extra on his tummy. And a little bit more on his tail. And the same thing for the wing. Be sure you have the wing going in the right direction before you do this, because this is not correct that way. It has to go this way. This this bird builder punch, there's several stamp sets that go with it, and they are lined up. Let me bring that back here. They are lined up usually on the stamp in a way that you could just stamp it right down and immediately punch it in just this way. I have one of them. I have two, actually. I have two. But I didn't need that for this design. So I'm also going to take a little bit of the frayed burlap and give him just a little bit of color on his nose. Just a little bit. Okay. And now that I have that done, I'm going to pop the wing up a little bit using these foam squares. Just make sure that the foam doesn't show. That's good. And decide whether you want the wing to go up or down. And I want it to go a little bit up, as if he's flying. More like a hummingbird, I guess. There we go. Okay, the rest is just putting everything together. Oh, I have a few jagged edges on this black strip, so I have this is a filing buffer thing that I got when I got my mani-pedi, and they let me keep it. So you just go along the edge and get that jagged edge right off, and it neatens up the edge a little bit. Very quick. Okay, now, here we go. And that's layout 1, the final card. There were 5 panels of the same type of picture on the paper, so I was able to get 5 matching cards with this layout. The next layout is a landscape one, and it features the bird on there. So this is the prototype that I created, and this is the design that I'm going to make now. And this is the bird one. Okay? So most of it I've already pre-assembled because it's the same, so there's just going to be a couple of differences. One difference is I'm going to be using this Stampin' Up triple banner punch. And this is the second layout. I noticed, and I'm sure you noticed, that I didn't catch myself. Force a habit, I made this portrait and I needed to make it landscape. So I quickly caught that before I glued it down. Also, I used a colored sparkle pen, this one except it was in pink, and I didn't like how that looked, so I went back to the solid color. I don't know if you could see how deep a color that adds, but I didn't care for that look. But it's just paper. You try stuff, you like it, you don't, move right on. There were 3 panels of the same type of picture on the paper, so I was able to get 3 matching cards with this layout. The next card I didn't make a prototype, but it's very similar to the last prototype. And this is going to be this one. And for this one, I'm going to need a few extra things. I'm going to need Martha Stewart Butterfly Punch, a Stampin' Up Small Butterfly Punch. I'm going to need a different kind of rhinestones. These are brown. And I will also need some purple ribbon. And let's see, quickly looking, oh yes, I'm going to need to use my Stamp-a-ma-jig. Okay, so everything else is the same. I'm going to show you the differences for this one. I'm using the Stamp-a-ma-jig for this one because I want to be sure that I get the sentiment very centered in this little small area, and I don't want to make a mistake. So you use the Stamp-a-ma-jig by taking the film, and this is the slick side face up, and you push it right in the corner of your handle. I hope you can see that. And you take your stamp and you go put it in the corner, and you go straight down and straight up. This works for wood stamps. It'll also work for cling stamps, clear stamps onto your acrylic block, as long as you don't move the stamp from the block once you start trying to do this, because it works by taking a note of where the stamp is in relation to the block. So if I were to go and stamp down here, then I could just use this alignment and just keep stamping as many times as I need it. Okay, now I'm going to just take it, and you can see it now because it's on the white, and move it left or right, up or down where I want it to be. And I think that's about good. Yes, and then once I have it, I'm going to hold the cardstock and the film, bring the handle in, open my ink, bring the handle in, and I'm pressing down hard so that the cardstock doesn't move. Slide the film out and just stamp up, ink up my stamp, put it in the corner, straight down and straight up. Now if I didn't get a good impression, because I haven't moved it, I could do it again and it will stamp the same place again. This is the old-fashioned MISTI tool, but this tried and true method will still work. Okay, now let me move this out of the way and move on to the next step for this card. Now it's just assembling the card, starting with trimming that extra purple off. And that's the third layout. I also made a third card of this, but I got it way crooked when I was putting the front down. So this is going to be my sample card. So we're just not going to look at that. So let's just move that, move that aside. Okay, without that mistake, I would have been able to get three cards with this same layout, but I only have two that I'm willing to say are complete. The next prototype that I designed was this one. And this is the card that I created for it. This has a ombre die cut on the front, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very easy with Distress Oxide inks. And I'm introducing into the mix a new die set. This is Happy Mother's Day. I'm also going to be again using the butterfly punch. All right, let's get started with this next one. I should point out for the eagle-eyed viewer among you that I had my nails done between the videos here. So this is the new nail design that I got from Q-Spa Nails here in Mill Creek, and it's adorable. And I wanted to give you a close-up. Okay. The first step I'm going to do for this card is make the ombre background paper. So I have put on a glove to protect my fingers, and I'm bringing in a piece of paper to protect my work surface. So I have my Distress Oxide in the order that I'm going to use them, and I have a a blending tool set up for each one of the colors. You can do this with just one blending tool, but I had 3, so I'm using 3. So I'm starting off with the bundled sage, and I'm just going lightly straight in the center of the small panel paper. And I just want to make sure that I get an even stripe right across the middle. Don't worry about if you get it right or wrong, because there is no wrong, it's all right. Now I'm going to bring in the broken china and put it on both sides. And the Distress Oxide blends very easily with the other colors. It's really very simple. It'll just be a second. And now that I have down the 2 stripes, I'm going to go over with the bundle sage, being sure to go between the 2 areas to blend it. Very simple. I'll do the same thing with the Salty Ocean on the outside edges. Okay, now I'm going to blend that with the broken china. And as you see how fast that blends, it is really, really very easy to do. And now one more time with the bundled sage. And there, ready to go, finished. It's not hard to do blending with the Distress Oxide inks. So what I'm now going to do is put this away and move on to the next step. Now that I have my panel, I'm going to adhere my fun foam to the back of it. And this is adhesive back, so it's very simple to just pull back the paper and line it up and put it in place. If you didn't have the adhesive back, you could just put whatever adhesive that you chose to on the back and just carefully line it up. Now I've cut this fun foam just a little bit smaller than my panel, so I wouldn't have any trouble lining it up. And there we have it. Okay, now what you can do at this point, grab my die. This panel will actually give me 2 of the Mother's Day, and I want to start with the light and go to the blue. So you can at this point cut this panel in half, and because sometimes when you run fun foam through your Big Shot multiple times, it starts getting smushed and smushed and smushed, and it's not as popped up as it started out. So if you were going to do multiple cutouts, you could cut it right here and then run the 2 pieces through separately through your Big Shot. So I want the lighter color to be at the top. So the first time I run it through, I'm going to put the die cut this way, and the second time I run it through, I'm going to turn it around and put the die cut this way. So of course I will get 2 Mother's Day die cuts from this one panel. If you don't want to make 2 Mother's Day cards, you can, of course, as I said, cut this in half, set this aside for another purpose, and then just move forward from there. This would also be good for aquatic card with these colors that I've used. So let me go run this to the Big Shot and I shall return. Now I have the die cut out, and I have to be careful not to lose this little apostrophe. So I'm going to carefully pull the mother out. I've already got the happy and the day. And I'm going to sit this aside for right now. Don't throw that away. You're going to need that. Okay, now I'm going to quickly assemble the rest of the card front. And that's that card. And here is all four that sheet made in the same layout. There were 4 similar panels on that paper, so I was able to get 4 matching cards with this layout. All right, moving right along. This is the next prototype. I had made a couple of ideas and then I changed my mind, so that's why the front looks all torn up. Don't pay any attention to that. And this is the card that I designed based on that. This design is going to make 2 cards because I'm taking a 5 by 3 3¾ sheet and I'm cutting it on the diagonal, so I get 2 diagonal pieces. So this card is very simple also, so let's show you how to do this. In addition to the things I've already shown you, this card design is also going to need some rhinestones, some blue bows, a Spectrum Noir sparkle marker. This is Sea Breeze. And I also need this stamp. This is from Amour, and it's just a French script heart. I'm going to you'll see why I need that in a second. I have my paper trimmer, and the first thing I need to do is cut right along the diagonal of this piece of paper. So you line up the point with the edge of the paper trimmer and you will get a straight line. Hold it, make sure the paper doesn't move, of course. And there we go, 2 pieces. Now, this is very simple. I'm going to quickly show you this and then I'll just put the rest of the card together, but it's very simple. And you just want to make sure that you have a good bit of adhesive on here so that the paper doesn't end up coming off. And at this point, decide which way you want it to go. Do you want it to go this way, or where's the other way? This way or this way? And it looks nice either way, but I'm going to go this way this time. And just make sure it's straight. Straighter than I did. I'll easily peel this off without tearing it. There we go. Surprised that worked. Now I'm going to try that again. This time I'm going to get it straight. I don't think I have any adhesive on this tip. I don't. I need a little bit more. Okay, now we see problems happen in real time sometimes. Okay, that's better. Okay, and I'll get the other one on there. And at this point, you can make it be the exact same, or you could switch it up to the other side. Like this. And I believe that's how I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to have one going at the top, one going at the bottom. And this card, I'm not going to make another Mother's Day card. I'm going to make an anniversary card. So I have another sentiment out that same something to celebrate stamp set. And this is what I'm going to use that heart for. So now I'm going to take the black strips and lay them diagonal across this point. And the rest is just assembling the card as you have already seen it. So I'm just going to let it run. And this is this layout. I have 4 cards, which are very similar. Just the directions go in a different way. One's the anniversary and 3 Mother's Day cards. And I also made 2 more cards with a different color scheme with another piece of that paper. So, and this one, oh, I bent this little wing. He has butterflies on it. Okay, so these are all the cards for this layout. And this is the final card prototype. This is going to use more papers than the others did. And this is the card that I designed on it. All right, in order to make this card, I needed to bring in some more inks, but I also needed to bring in the A2 Matting Basics B by Spellbinders. I also needed to add the Amethyst Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pen. As with all the other cards, I'm going to use the mat for the other mats that I need, but I'm also going to use the mat for the sentiment strip. So this is a different layout than I was cutting before because this is wider than that, so you couldn't cut it any other way. All right, so just cut it this way and then we'll move on. Now that I have these 2 mats, the rest is just doing everything that you've seen me do already. So here we go. And that's this card finished. And there were 3 of that one. And let me show you all of the cards together. And this is all 24 cards that I was able to get from this one sheet of paper. The one sheet wonder technique is really an awesome tool to add to your stamping toolbox, and you can use very few materials and end up with a lot of cards, and they really come together quickly. There are other videos on my channel where I show the one sheet wonder technique. You could also check out videos by Connie Stewart, Jennifer McGuire, and my Stampin' Up! Distributor, Frances Martin, which I link down below to Frances Martin's blog. There's a lot of great bloggers out here who are doing a lot of techniques to help you get the maximum out of your paper. I'd like to thank you for watching my videos, and I hope you've enjoyed this series. And I'd like to thank my brother for the music that he's been providing for me for my channel, and I hope you're enjoying that. Please hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.